Welcome to the Board Game Marketing Podcast. Let's cue the intro. This is the #1 podcast to learn marketing strategies for your board game. Whether you're just starting on your first game or an experienced designer, you've come to the right place. My name is Nalin, and let's talk marketing for your game. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Board Game Marketing Podcast. In this podcast, I interview creators who have successfully funded their ideas on Kickstarter to learn more about their journey to launch and help you formulate your own plan. I also bring on experts in the tabletop space to talk about all the facets of marketing and building your game publishing company. If you've been listening for a while now, you know that I hold nothing back. So in these episodes, be prepared to hear me ask the hard questions and really get down to the finer details. Let's get started. Launched multiple games, and we're going to be here talking about his game, a most recent game, Macaron, and also Kickstarter and marketing. So hi, Tate. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nalin. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Perfect. Well, I'd love it if you could kind of tell us about yourself and about the game that we're going to be kind of chatting about today.
Okay. So I was born in Taiwan, and my family moved to LA a long time ago, and so I grew up here, went to high school, college, and I started playing games, board games, maybe. Well, my first game is probably Axis and Allies, so that's a long time ago. That's like 30 years ago, maybe. But that's for more US games. I started playing more Euro games about 20 years ago, and then start to design games. I always like to design things, different products, and just somehow just feel like try a different ways to play games that would fit my ideal, and so that's kind of how I started designing games. I do mostly self-publishing. Probably I have more than 10 games. I also license games in the past. 10, 15, about 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years now, but mostly do self-publishing. And more recent games are launched on Kickstarter. So that's how I get fundings to publish my games.
That's really an interesting background here. You've done a lot in the game space. I'd love to understand. You mentioned before that you like creating things, working on products, inventing products and things like that, or designing products and things. What were you kind of doing before you came into the game space?
Well, I do a lot of computer. So I do marketing and sales on computer products, and also I taught high school for 3 years, Gardena High School. And there I taught computer graphic design, multimedia.
Oh, wow.
Around the same time I taught adult school too. Just very basic, Microsoft Office. And then I design other than games. I designed pet wear, the clothes, and some other things. But I just like to create, and so I like to paint. I like to sculpt, do clays and things like that. So just like to invent and create things.
That's amazing. It seems like you're always kind of making something and producing something, like even on Facebook, we're friends on Facebook, and I always see you like painting something new or creating some beautiful creations. Like I even see some of them in the background, right?
Oh, actually, that's what my husband goes. I just like he's my favorite artist. I just put his. I went to last year. Well, not last year. Sorry, it's 2 years ago when I went to Essen. I went to Van Gogh Museum and bought a calendar, and so I just cut it down and put it on the wall. And it sometimes, it helps me when I paint because my style is more impressionist painting style. And so yeah, his painting really is very inspiring to me. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. And so we're here to talk a lot about your game and marketing for your game because if people who are watching don't know, Tate's launched multiple games, lots and lots of games on Kickstarter. And so I'd love to just kind of start off with Macaron, the most recent one that you worked on. I'd love to learn more about the game and also like what were you doing to prepare for the launch of your game from a marketing standpoint?
So the game is a 1 to 5 player trick-taking game. I love playing bridge, hearts, and I love traditional trick-taking games. So I want to design one, and of course it has to be different and has to be more has to be balanced because one of the things about trick taking game is that when you have your hand, the hand is random and from there it could determine how many tricks you can win, and your winning and losing is based on your hand. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to design a game have a the way that you decide the real group, actually it's a prompt, and also different suits, and that will influence how you play, and then to balance out the randomness, and also to improve the gameplay interaction. It's like if you have a bad hand, you still can play and having fun. It's not like every card you play is a dead card because some cards you play, even though you cannot have a great benefit, but you will still like taking away advantages from other players. So it doesn't matter whether you have a good hand or bad hand, you'll still have fun. So that's my idea of a trick taking game, and still keep it more classic in a way that it doesn't have so many different powers, and so when you play, you mainly focus on the trick taking strategy, solely on the trick taking part of the game.
Got it.
So so when I work on this game, and I want I had to bring up a theme, and so I forgot why I picked Macaron. Maybe,
were you eating one at the time? Were you just kind of like?
It's possible. It could be because I during that time it's already COVID, and I go to this boba store called Seven Leaf, and they have Macaron. So I go there like maybe once a week, and I have Macaron like pretty often. So maybe that's one of the reasons. And also in the game there's 7 suits, so I need to have enough varieties. So Macaron is pretty good because you can have different flavors. So I started to work on the thing, but I know that in the very beginning that this is not a good thing for Kickstarter, because even not just for Kickstarter, it's also for the game market, because I feel that no one cares about Macaron. It's like if this is donuts, people will say, "Oh, it's donut." Like 90%, I will hit 90% of people like donut, right? Or this is like or sushi. Sushi is super popular, right? So if this is a sushi game, it's any. I think any food or taco or whatever, it will be better than Macaron. But I'm just really stubborn, so I'm just going to try. I always like to try. I know this is not a good thing, but I want to try it. So I kind of like um, add just to focus on it, and then have all the art to work on, to work to have art on Macaron and um, all the design elements to fit the theme. And now, at the end of the Kickstarter, I know I didn't do well. I actually, to me, it's I hope for a lot more, but so it's like, even though it was funded, but I consider it a failure. And I sometimes I tell people that if this game is called something like okay, so in the game there's suit, and there's a suit that is an allergen suit. So there's that like a special element in my trick taking game.
Yeah.
So I was saying that, okay, so if this game is called the Zombie Healer, okay, and there's an allergen that would that would like hurt the zombies, and so like I think it would be totally different because people are or anything that's sci-fi, um, and or fantasy, it's a lot better. I'm pretty sure I will do so much better than Micron, but it's just like I it's the stubborn side of me. I just want to go for it, and also because I really like to for this project. I don't know if you noticed the box. It doesn't say anything. It just it just looked like a background box. And when I sent review copies out, a couple of people told me that they thought they got a background a snack, a pastry, from someone, but opened up it's a game. And so that's what I want. I want to have something different, a game, and also it looks like a gift. So when people play it or give away as a present, it will it's something that it will give another element of surprise when people receive the game.
Got it.
So I keep it the thing, and then I try my best to run it. So that's how the thing with that's how the thing was selected, and then it was kind of forced into the campaign, and then just try my best to run it.
Got it. So yeah, I guess we covered a lot of ground here, right? We talked about pretty much how you got sparked this idea because you were in a boba shop, and now it kind of really goes with your trick taking game because there's 7 different suits and there's lots of variety there, and then you realized early on that this was going to be hard to market. This was going to be hard to kind of get out to the masses because it wasn't just something that is common or typical, right? Yeah. Before I ask my question associated with this, I have to ask, what is your boba order? You go every week.
Oh, for that store, I usually get the large mung bean milk tea with boba.
Okay, mung bean milk tea. Okay.
I usually don't drink mung bean milk tea, but I only drink mung bean milk tea from that boba store. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try that. I typically get like just a milk tea or like just a normal oolong tea or something like that, but I will have to try the mung bean next time. Okay, cool. Anyway, so back to my actual original question. So you mentioned that you knew it was going to be a challenge to get the word out there, to kind of market and things like that. A lot of people have the same issue too. They have themes that are not, like you said, mainstream, right? Like sci-fi is very mainstream, right? Things like that. What were you doing to kind of get the word out about your game then?
So I know that, so I did try Facebook ad, but it's hard because it doesn't get clicked. So my previous games, I have some cat games. I can easily get clicks because they're cats. People just click on cats. So Macaron, when I send out pictures on Macarons, it doesn't matter the audience or the region or the pictures. No one click on them. I mean, there's very few people clicking on Macaron. So it is just a hard subject. So I tried Facebook, that didn't work. So I have to rely on my previous backers, and also have to rely on a review copy. So for this, usually I send out 20, at least 20 copies of review copies.
At least
So
20. Okay.
this time I made 50 copies, and it
Oh,
sent out more than 40 copies worldwide. And I believe, people love the game, and reviewers, they I mean, there are things that they like, there's things they don't like, but overall, it's very positive. Overall, it's really really positive. It's um yeah, it's a lot better. I won't say with all the games, but it's it's like the top games that I have get reviewed. So that's the only thing. There's more tangible way. Well, not tangible. There's just more one-on-one or less mass um, marketing way of getting the words out. Just only from the people that I do playtest. I try to get people to playtest from them and the reviewers, and hopefully they can get more people. I wasn't able to get people from just putting ads to get to the even bigger audience.
got it. So
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned about kind of leveraging previous backers, and
Uh,
you talked about just kind of heavily going with like a reviewer strategy just to like expand your reach a little bit. And there's someone who commented on here that says we ended up reaching out to a few smaller indie streamers towards the end too, to really open up sharing with their audiences in the final days of Kickstarter as well. Thank you. My little streamer thing doesn't let me see who it is, but thanks for that.
yeah, we did. So I so Angelica, she helped me with the marketing. So she did streaming on the during the campaign, and also in early, I think last year on Strategicons, we have a few streamers help us to demo and playtest. But the overall, everyone who played the game, they all like the game. But it doesn't get it doesn't it expands slowly. It doesn't. It helps only to the people that we reached. It doesn't go beyond that. So I mean, yeah. So it's streaming helps, but I think it's still, again, if this is a different thing, it will help a lot more. It doesn't matter what we do. It's just going to go beyond that. The people that we reach out to.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to touch on each of the things that you mentioned that you did for marketing for your game here. I guess the biggest one, since you did 40 copies, is reviewers, right? How
Yeah.
did you pick and choose which reviewers? And also, when did you release those videos from reviewers?
So we have. There's a lot of delay in this project, especially in the art area. If we had the art on time, we could have launched in October around Essen, but we have to postpone a lot more weeks after that because the presidential election. So we didn't we decided to postpone at least I think 2 weeks after that. So if we can launch earlier, it'd be great. Yeah. So basically, the reviewers have their copies, I think, by end of October, and then
Okay.
they start to they start. We have people reviewers start getting the review copies. Some are further away, it takes like 2 3 weeks to get to them. So most of the people got did their reviews before launch, and that's and so yeah, we have a lot of marketing resource on the reviews, and a lot of them, and they're all great. But it just I was kind of disappointed that it didn't, even though I have so many review copy went out, but it didn't help that much. It should. And so again, I think the reviews are great, but it just the again I think is the thing. It's just not as attractive as any um, sci-fi or fantasy titles. Yeah,
God.
um, yeah.
And when you got these reviews, do you usually kind of like have the reviewers, put the videos live when the project goes live on Kickstarter, or is it kind of before Kickstarter goes live? When do you have these reviewers release them? Since you have so many, you had so many.
Yeah. So and also the campaign is only 2 weeks. So that means I have I have so many reviews that I can. So I can't. I do a lot of updates, especially for this campaign. I do so. Every update we have a new review. I post a different review in the update. So we have more than enough to have uh, some new reviews, videos, or blog or articles posted. So they get a lot of different uh, uh, you know uh, different information, marketing information. Like 3 4 times a week. So there's a lot of content out there.
Yeah.
Uh, so I really think that it should do so much better. But yeah.
Got it. Got it. And another thing I wanted to ask about all the different things you did to market before the game actually comes to Kickstarter here is you talked about your previous audiences and kind of getting them into each of your new games as you go. What is it like communicating to your previous audiences? How do you kind of hype them up? What do you say to them? And also, how far ahead before a launch do you involve them?
So for this time, I have a few Facebook pages, and then we put like Facebook events on our Facebook page. We did like at least a month ahead, and we also did drawings. So if they like our page or subscribe, they get raffle prizes. Um, and so I also did um, the backer kit. Backer kit has a program that you can uh, email your previous backers, and so I did. Uh, so I was sent to a few thousand people. I think 10% of people said that they would, they will support the project, but I don't, but in reality, I think it's less than that. It's like, it's, it's only few percent.
Mm.
So it's like, overall, my guess, it's like less than 5% people, yeah, came back. Uh, it's probably it's not something they like, and also it could be the price. It's the price. It's right in the middle. It's not a gift item that is around 15 20, and it's not a large game like 40 50. So the and I thought about that too because I was thinking that, oh, should I launch this for just 2 player and then so I can drop the price down to 15 20. But in the end, I still decide to just to run it for 1 to 5. So the cost is higher, so I have to uh, kickstart for 25 and up. So the pricing is it's I think is not a factor, and I usually do smaller games, and so I think my backers are looking for more gift items or games that's like maybe around $15. So the base price for Macaron is a little higher. So maybe that's the uh, reason why I'm not getting so many previous
Is,
backers.
is this one of your strategies too, moving forward with your games and all the future things that are coming? Like, is the strategy to kind of like do smaller, like in price, like lower in price, more impulse buys? Like, what is kind of like the strategy here, since you have so many games out there?
Yeah, so I usually try to do it to uh, launch games that it's about $15 to $20, and that's the reason is it's easier to develop. A
Hmm.
lot of the game, that 2019, I launched Promenade. It's about $40-$50 game, and I failed on the first attempt. Uh, so yeah, that's another story, but it's just so usually my games are like 15-20, but that's a more pricey game. So my previous backers, um, so most of my previous backers probably will not be interested. Uh, so yeah, that's the thing I need to. I really learn a good lesson on that, and so that's why 2020 I didn't you know I didn't Kickstarter game that it's like 40 up. It's 25. I thought it was okay, but still you know it would be better if it was in that price range. So in the future, I think I would try to keep my Kickstarter project in about like average 15 from $10 to $20. Yeah, and also because somehow my most of my games are pretty cute looking, and I think they attract to more female audience, and so I don't know, like maybe uh yeah. Anyway, it's just the price. Yeah, it has to. Yeah, probably especially for this year. Yeah, I'm going to just do all games that are like 20 or less.
Got it. Okay. And so we talked about two things of the three that was mentioned so far. We talked about reviewers and the approach you had with reviewers. We talked about kind of your communication with your previous backers. And we also should talk about the streamers that you were working with. How did that go about? How did you get in touch with them? Who did you choose? I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, okay. I think streamers are great. I really do think so because they actually because they play with um they could play with audience. They could have some prearranged players to play with them online, and because it's more interactive, you have people put in comments. They can answer questions at the same time. I think it's a great tool, but I just don't think because if you look at stream right now, Twitch right now, there are a lot of video games, and there are more and more board game Twitch, but you don't see that many people watching board games.
Hmm.
So it will eventually get there, but it's just like it needs more time. So right now it will help, but once there are a lot more people watching board game streams, it becomes popular, and it will be very helpful. And so Angela, Angelica, she helped me to find streamers. A lot of them are her friends, and so we scheduled uh, to to run it on the Strategicon. So we did quite a bit, And then I kind of realized that uh, the a, a solo game will be better. It's much
Mm.
uh, the solo game will be more suitable for streaming than multiplayer. I kind of that's what I think. I'm not sure if I'm right because if you're going to have streamers to help you with campaign, it would be great if your game have solo mode because then they can just if they don't have
Yeah.
people to play with them, they can just play by themselves.
Yeah.
So if your game requires players, then they have to source another player to play with you, to play with them, or you have to be there to play with them. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good thing to have. So if your game has solo mode, you know, see if you can reach out to streamers, and then if they like the game, they can stream for you. And yeah, I think it's good to have streamers and to stream your games. And honestly, any marketing that you do will help. And also the stream that you do, you can put a make a copy to put it on YouTube. And it and there's one that made by Amanda. She played with Michelle and Monique. Macaron is a small game, and it takes about 30 minutes to play. But they're just chatting and then having a lot of fun, and they spend like 2 hours playing one game. But it's really fun experience, and I hope people have a chance to look at it. It's if you want to learn the game, of course you're not going to watch that. But if you want to see people having fun playing games, that's something you can watch. So it's always good to have more video out there with your game, and then when people search your games, they can have more resource, to either to learn about your games or see, check out some strategy and see who's playing the game. And yeah, I'll and streaming it's going to be uh, more and more important for board game industry. That's for sure. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's great that you're already kind of like going into that and making sure that your games are kind of out there being streamed. People can like find it on video and things like that. So that's amazing. And that is really insightful too about like solo games, right? About a reviewer can just sit there and like stream their game or like record their game and kind of talk through it as they're playing the solo mode. So that's was really insightful there too. Um, Out of kind of everything that you did for marketing for your game, this one and also the previous ones that you've launched, what kind of things were kind of the most effective when it comes to marketing?
I will say that if you can find your audience on Facebook, I think that would be great. Um, if you if your game like what I said earlier, I had cat games and I can just you know set up categories and then put it on Facebook, because you get people to if you can get anybody to just look at your page, then that that is the goal. If people just when they look at your picture of Macaron and it looks like some people they never had it before, or they don't really care about that pastry. It's just hard. So, and also Facebook it's inexpensive, and also you can reach out to a lot of people. So that is the best way, only if you can find your audience. Your audience could be male, female, and also their age. If you look into Facebook ad, it's a very complicated system. But once you have to invest your time and of course marketing money in budget into Facebook ad. But if you can figure out who like the age group or the people who like uh, let's say if people who like Macaron would also like something something, I don't know, uh, then you can use that connection and then to get people to look at your post. And you can also target Board Game Geek or uh, Kickstarter group, but because it's Kickstarter, it's just they don't just promote uh, crowdfund board games, right? It requires so many things. So you're gonna reach out to people who don't care about board games. So so you want to figure out ways to find out your target audience. If you can find it, it will be very helpful, and it will do so much better than just one-on-one on doing play tests online or uh uh yeah just the mass marketing tool
Excuse me.
is the best way. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually were talking, you and I were actually talking about like audience stuff before we went live here. And, we talked about how as sometimes a first time game designer, it's actually really hard to find who your audience is, to really narrow it down. Like what kind of advice do you have for people after you've done all these games now? How should people get started? What should people do just to kind of hone that down a little bit more?
Uh, I would. So what I did before, I didn't do for Micron. It's one thing that you can do is, let's say if you have I don't know, I would just say zombie. Okay, so you go to BGG and then look at zombie games and then see who did the reviews. And of course, you want to find the games that have similar themes or mechanic and go for those reviewers and ask them to review your game. That's one. You kind of narrow down because if they did something similar, their audience might be interested in your product also. And you should like uh, at least 3 months before you launch, you start to do market testing on Facebook. You just put out um, just try to see any keywords or any image that you might interest people, and so that you can that's something that you can that asset is something you can continue to use or pivot you know to help you to find out who's your target audience or who's similar audience will be interested in your game. It's uh, so understand that your game category and mechanic it will be important if you are really searching into the board game geek list. The gamers that who likes that game might be interested in your game, and you can ask them to maybe playtest online because now we playtest online. It doesn't matter where they are. If they have time, they're interested, they can play your game. Um, so that and then they will if they like the game, they most people have social media. They can say, oh, I play someone else so and so's game. It's interesting. Their friends be interested to play, or their whoever their followers would be interested to look at the game and to play this and then maybe back the game. So that that I didn't do that for Micron because there are a couple Micron games, but they're not really helpful for me. They're not like super beneficial to me for me to go to that route. For other games, yeah. So if you know your game and then find similar games on Book and Geek, look for reviewers and people who like those games, talk to them. It's always great to have more people play test your game to give you suggestions, right? Uh, so yeah, not just like sending games to reviewers. That's focus on Facebook, yeah, try Board Game Geek. It has a lot of resource. You just have to know, like, you just have to go through it and choose and pick, and hopefully that will work for you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good kind of real tactical thing people could do. Like you said, like figure out what games are similar, see who's kind of like playing it, who's reviewing it, and like you can even search on Board Game Geek for stuff like that, and just going from there, seeing, hey, this person liked this game, and seeing if they would actually like your game too, because it's very similar. That's a really great way to start like conceptualizing for sure who your audience is. Thank you for that. Yeah, and so this kind of about wraps this up here. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. If people want to learn more about the game and kind of find out more about what you do, where can they find you?
So my website is down right now. So the best way is to go to my Facebook. You can find me at Tate Wu, T-A-T-E, last name W-U. You can also email me tatewu@gmail.com. I don't use Instagram that much anymore. So Facebook will be the best way to message me. And so yeah, and then Twitter. Yeah, I don't tweet that much, but I do have a Twitter account. It's TATEWU1. That's my Twitter account, and we also have Sunrise Tornado. That's my publishing company, and we just start to do more tweeting and Instagram with those accounts. But if you want to reach out to me, just use my Facebook. I think that'll be the easiest way.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show here and for sharing all this with us.
Well, thank you for the invite, and I hope it helps. Yeah, it's sharing my my poor experience. I hope so you will not just follow that. You will just do better. Just than what I have done.
Well, everyone starts somewhere, and everyone has learnings and things they overcome. So this was like great for you to share what worked, what didn't work, and what you kind of really thought about each of the things that you did too. So again, thank you so much for being on here, and good night.
Thank you, guys.
And that wraps up our episode today. If you found what we talked about today helpful in any way, please be sure to leave a review to help others find this podcast. And most importantly, if you're feeling that fire and you're ready to get started on your Kickstarter campaign, be sure to head to the show notes of the podcast. I've linked some of my resources that others have used to successfully launch and get funded. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Board Game Marketing Podcast. For daily tips and advice, find us in the Board Game Marketing group on Facebook. See you next week.